Hello, this is Positive Vibes Enterprise. I am Tom Goodwin. This is Michelle Ronquillo.
Hi, everybody.
And the subject today is conscience. And that's one of the things that psychology doesn't pay enough attention to, is the importance of the spiritual in developing a conscience. And it's not as simple as people may think, because a lot of times it has to do with one's spiritual programming. And a lot of the times the traditional religion don't necessarily program people well enough to develop the sensitivity to really have a conscience that's concerned about the whole picture, about the society as a whole. A lot of times they tend to see themselves as a separate entity, me, us against them type approach. And that doesn't work well in developing a conscience when you have that one-sidedness or that attitude, because what that does is it makes you dismiss certain parts of certain people and certain parts of our reality, because you get this one-sided perspective, and that makes you feel like I have a conscience. What my side is right, and you get that self-righteousness, and that can lead to, a lot of times people blame religion for wars and all, and the way that would happen would be their conscience would be a little bit distorted, in the sense that they wouldn't see reality straightforward enough, and they say, we believe we're on the right side of this, but are they really on the right side?
Yeah, I think that it's important when you are looking at a spiritual understanding of conscious, of how you feel. What are your feelings? What are your reactions? What are making you motivate? What is making you move? What is making you love somebody? What is making you repel somebody else? Those things go into knowing thyself, and also digging into where the conscious lies, the empathy of how you treat others, how you treat yourself, but mirror-wise, how your feelings relate to how much connection you feel with somebody going through something that, in an empathy type of setting, I relate to you, I care about you, I have compassion for you, but I'm still, as a conscious, aware of my steps and what I need to do for me.
And to have, a good moral compass, which is another word for conscience, one has to have a sense for what is the greater good. And the greater good has a little bit to do with the greater good. I'm getting distracted a little bit.
Sorry, I moved the camera.
Moving the camera. But one has to be concerned about what is the greater good. And as for a fly comes around, we're getting annoyed.
Lots of distractions trying to come in.
Yeah, but you see that what is good for you is actually for the greater good. What's best for you, because if you contribute to the good, you develop goodwill, and you're going to be in demand. People are going to want you to be around. So when you do things that are in the benefit for the world as a whole, you actually do that which is a benefit for you. And that's what you have to understand. You have to develop a spiritual sensitivity and understand that linkage.
Yeah, that's a good word. Sensitivity. Sensitivity of how you would handle something versus, sometimes in life you'll be like, oh man, that person's going through that, but I totally would take care of that a lot different than them. But that is your journey versus their journey. And sometimes you have to see the empathy that your strengths can be someone else's weakness, and their weakness is someone else's strength. So it's always an understanding of what is the conscience.
And when you're trying to develop what is the greater good, it's not simple. It's a very complicated thing. Issues are very complicated. Everything is complicated. So you can't have the arrogance that thinks you know things is too self-assured about the way things are.
Yeah.
One has to be constantly searching and looking for the best answers. And if you're not looking for the best answers and you get tunnel vision that only sees part of the picture, then you're likely to be hurting that which is not in your tunnel vision. In other words, the tunnel vision, you're going to be going for certain goals, and it's going to be people that may be going in a different direction, which is still relevant, and you're just going to push them aside and treat them negatively because you don't see their purpose as being as valuable as it really is. So it's very complicated. That's why we're so much into developing better spiritual theory to connect us better with the reality we're in, and a complicated reality, and not being too arrogant or having beliefs that I usually like to have spiritual theories, because beliefs are things that you take on faith, and you tend to get this idea that they're absolute, that you just hang to them no matter what, and anything outside of the territory of the belief, forget it. That's bad.
Yeah, the ego and closed-minded, narrow thinking will stop you from understanding someone else's perspective. Because when you are looking at someone else's view, you have to listen. And then you have to look at the foreign type of energy that you're not used to, and be open to that maybe you can understand and relate and have empathy for where they're coming from. And that is a big deal in psychology, is not only understanding but listening as well, being open to the whole picture, all the sides. There's so many different sides in spirituality that you need to be open to all those sides and not have a narrow view.
And that's where training comes in, meditative training techniques. If you don't train yourself, and you don't eat a good diet, and you don't do the things that'll make help your body to function really well, you cannot be really sensitive spiritually if you haven't developed a well-being, a healthiness to yourself that will enable you to function on a really sensitive level. If you treat yourself brutally and you're abusive to yourself, right, and you're indulging yourself in a way that is not healthy, it's going to dull your sensitivities. And we live in a culture with all these drugs and all these temptations and everything that will dull our sensitivity. And that's not going to help you to develop the strength of spirituality that will give you a strong enough moral compass. Because a conscience is not just having spiritual theories that enable you to see reality real well so you can see what's healthy, but it also requires that you're healthy enough that you can tune in and see what is the best course of action to bring the best result. And that takes a lot of energy and sensitivity, and the sensitivity has to be, you need a certain amount of emotional intensity in order to be really sensitive, and that's not going to come easily. It's not going to come if you're drugged out or in a dulled state or intoxicated state because of drugs or sugar or whatever you do in excess.
Yeah, that's very important what Tom was talking about, actions, because you need your body to be in good health and be able to go through emotional trauma, because emotional trauma goes into the body as pain as well. So in understanding where you are in your place in life, you have to be strong enough and healthy enough to drink a whole bunch of water after you had after you've had a massage. Sorry, we're having distractions once more. But understanding and paying attention to those emotional things that are coming in that might be negative can affect your health. So you need to pay attention, get healthy, start exercising, start eating right, start drinking more water. All those things that you can pay attention to your body in those times of facing temptation or desire or anything that you're trying to change. It's very important that in the actions that your health is at the top of its game as much as you can possibly have it.
And the thing is, a lot of times psychology will not. Psychology has a tendency to be dismissive of the spiritual, and they will say what they say about sociopaths is sociopaths do not have a conscience. That's I looked it up today, and that's one of the main things they say about sociopaths. And that means that the way to cure them would be to figure out how to alter them spiritually so they'd have a conscience, so that they would. And a lot of times when you're talking about conscience, it's tricky because you have a society as a whole that has, treats certain people in it very badly. It's very abusive in a lot of ways, and they don't necessarily. It stopped again. Now it jumped ahead again. It's playing tricks with us, the video. I don't know how it's going to turn out because this is acting really crazy today.
Yeah, so what we're probably going to do is have a part 2 on this subject, so that way we can test out what we have so far and continue with this conversation. But as Tom was saying before, the distractions of the video
stopping on us.
It is true in psychology, the only way that you can get a conscience is to feel the empathy for others and think of their feelings instead of your own. And that has a lot of hardship when it comes to dealing with narcissism and those selfish types of greedy emotions that make people inward and think that themselves are holier than anyone else, and it locks themselves in. And the ones that think, oh, I'm right and no one else is right because I'm right, it locks you into that narrow-minded, and it does not help the conscience grow.
But it's not surprising that people have this self-righteous attitude because it tends to permeate our society so much, and you have such one-sided polarization going on in politics and in so many areas where in almost everybody, even in an educational system, you almost have a certain arrogance where the people the people at the top of the educational system think they're so much superior to other people in our society, and also you end up having people getting paid so much more. There's such an inequity of pay in how we value people, and it's not. And if you know people and how hard they work and apply themselves, you know that people aren't worth 20 times more than another person and all. So when you see all this inequity and all this messed up energy in our society at all, you can say our society as a whole doesn't have a conscience. So you wonder why individuals may say, may have this attitude, I'm being abused by society. Why should I care about society? I'm going to strike back. So they're going to lose their conscience as a result of what's happening in society as a whole. That's why when you're trying to develop we need better spiritual theories if we're going to advance further, in this world that's pretty backward at the time spiritual. And those spiritual theories have to spread throughout our society and affect the whole society to a certain degree if we're going to solve the problems of the individuals in the society, more individuals in the society. We can solve a certain amount by individual treatment, but if we really want to deal with the situation, we have to start affecting the society as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. When you have a crisis, you notice that there are a lot of people that show their light, show their heart, show their empathy, show their compassion. So getting that to where it is happening not only when there's crisis in the communities or in society, but all the time on an everyday basis. Be the example that you want to see in the world.
And we need to utilize sources better when it comes to spreading them out so that everybody can get what they need within our society. And human resources are very important. And when we neglect human resources and we hurt human resources, we pay a price for that. And when things go wrong and negative things happen in this world because somebody goes crazy, we're all responsible for that person going to crazy to some degree. And we have to have that attitude that we're responsible, and then, try to do something about how people are being treated. And because it's a social problem to everybody's problem. We can't just become irresponsible and just blame the person that's at the lowest level of society that's going crazy. We have to blame the people that are at the top of society for not solving the problems that are bringing about the results at the bottom of society.
Right. And it also, it's very important in society to spread hope, because hopelessness is one of a destruction that will take down one person, and then they'll spin into nobody cares, nobody loves me, rejection. So hope literally sparks so much change, and we need to see a lot more hope coming out of each individual onto society, and just start with their family. And then it grows, and then you get addicted to it, and then you're spreading hope and kindness to anyone and everyone that's coming your way. And those are the starts that me and Tom are talking about, is being a member in society and making changes just by your actions and by your perceptions changing, and changing your health, changing your diet, changing your steps, to be an active member of the spiritual change and involvement that we're trying to spark off.
Yeah, we have to be an example. And when you talk about some of these ministers with their big castles and all their overindulgence and everything, and they're supposed to be examples, well, they're messing our society up, and they probably think they have a real good conscience, but they don't have a real good conscience at their hogging the trough, so to speak. They're taking way more than they need, and it's not healthy for them, and it's not healthy for society. So the example you have, that you can deal with the hardship, you can deal with the roughness of society, and you can stay moral, and that you don't escape from things being tough. You face that which is tough, and you try to make the most of it. Because you can't expect the people at the bottom of society to deal with the pain and struggle and the toughness of life very well if the people at the top can't handle it. I mean, there's a certain amount, the spiritual energy in our society is going to affect everyone. It's sort of like a collective energy, and if you have to change that collective energy, and you have to do it. You only can do it with you affect the people around you. So at least if you affect the people around you, at least you know that they'll have, you'll be in a healthier spiritual bubble anyway of the people around you, and that's a good thing. That helps you. It's always in your self-interest to elevate yourself spiritually, because it's going to affect the immediate people around you, and you want to have good people around you. You don't want to attract people that have a bad moral compass around you, that are abusive, and don't know what's healthy for themselves, so they're therefore not going to know what's healthy for you.
And one thing that I have to say that goes hand in hand is integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one is looking. And so in understanding, learning how to build your conscience, learning how to show empathy and compassion around you to yourself and others, think about the integrity of doing the right thing when no one is looking. And it'll just keep on spreading and keep on building. And it's also it also goes into ethics and things that relate to a society-based moral ethic. And you can look into that too, because that's very important as well. Because when you have a good compass of good views of what you're supposed to do in action, is about plugging into your passions, what drives you, what motivates you. So not only if you have the daily grind, Monday through Friday job, go do that 100%, but also get into your creative outlet, your passions. That will also lead you down to a road of motivation. Plug it in anywhere you can, because that is also working hard in changing the spiritual society.
And the thing is, a lot of people handicap themselves because they drink and they do take drugs or they do things that don't allow themselves to be healthy enough to have the endurance to work hard, for 8 hours and then have extra energy to do other things afterwards.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of times you need to have some work energy to have an extracurricular activity in order to open new doors for yourself. You can't be so locked in that after you're done work, you end up sabotaging yourself, drinking and carrying on, and then you're not able to do anything to change your situation.
Yes.
So you're caught in that dead-end job forever, because even in your time you have to have that you're not working on the job, you're either too exhausted or you're too drugged out to do anything. And a lot of the time, the spiritual practices have to be done while you're not working on the job. But after you work on the job, you can be changing yourself spiritually, improving your energy so that new openings will happen, because the spiritual can make new openings, but you have to put the energy in, because it's hard work to develop spiritually.
Yes, it is.
Or the meditative technique, the exercise, and so forth.
Yes, it is. And sometimes you can get lost into the daily grind and forget, to unplug and forget to feed your spiritual health, your passions, your goals, your dreams. How are you ever going to get there if you just think about them, you don't do them? See, we always say back and back and back, it's actions speak louder than words. It's actions that are going to take you there. It's actions that are going to make the difference. And when you start going full force in the understandings of what a conscience is, what are you, what is your mission, what drives you, what gives you passion that you just feel so happy about, those are the types of things that you need to embrace, you need to check out on, you need to go and experience the unknown and get out of the daily zombie grind.
And a lot of these situations in this world are complicated. We have probably too much population in an awful lot of places in this world, so that a lot of people can't get enough, because there's just not enough quality food or whatever to take care of everybody. So there are issues that have to be addressed, even though if we really make the most of our resources, we can get by very readily on a lot less. So we definitely...
But going forward, that we should think of the ways that we can correct this, each and every one of us doing our part. Maybe like start consciously thinking about recycling, or helping out somebody, in the senior world, maybe, take them some groceries, or, something that is above and beyond what you normally do, that, just little, because every little thing helps.
The thing with little things is a lot of times people have an attitude other people should take care of them, and they just throw it. What I mean, they don't do the little thing to make it easier for other people. They won't when they're doing, they'll put their dishes in the sink with all kinds of junk left over, or they'll throw away food which somebody else could eat,
or they'll litter.
Yeah, but it's sort of a sloppiness sometimes where they think other people owe them stuff. Whereas the thing is, what you're supposed to do is be willing to take on more of the burden of the world, and be
easier for someone else.
Yeah, and we don't need people becoming more of a burden or having that negligent type attitude. We need more people taking on more of the burden and being proud, or feeling good about the fact that they can do more, that they can contribute more, that they're a hard worker and they're making a difference. The people that make a difference have to really be put in a high regard in our society.
Yes.
I think we're going to have to stop this, because I don't know how much jumping around.
Yeah,
I don't know if it'll make any sense when we hear it again, because it's been stopping and starting and all kinds of things. I'm not sure if it's what the problem is with YouTube or the internet or whatever, but it's been doing all kinds of craziness with us. So if you wonder why we may be jumping around, part of it is we're being distracted, and another part is